The discipline equation. Why willpower fails and systems win. Part 1. The great lie about discipline. What if everything you've been told about discipline is wrong? We've been sold a story. The story says that disciplined people are different from you and me. They wake up at 5 a.m. with smiles on their faces. They love the pain of cold showers. They possess some magical reservoir of willpower that the rest of us lack. This story is a lie. And worse, it's keeping you stuck. Because here's the truth that took me years to understand. Discipline isn't something you have. It's something you design. Think about the last time you failed to do something you should have done. Maybe you didn't study. I didn't go to the gym. Didn't write that report. What was your internal dialogue? I'm so lazy. I just don't have enough self-control. Why can't I be like those productive people? Sound familiar? Now here's what's actually happening beneath the surface, and I promise you, it has almost nothing to do with your character. Your brain contains a small region called the amygdala, evolutionarily ancient, responsible for threat detection. When you face a task that requires effort, studying, exercising, writing, your amygdala doesn't distinguish between a physical threat and a psychological one. It screams, danger, energy expenditure, avoid. This is the default mode network at work. Your brain is wired for conservation, not achievement, for survival, not success. The average human brain consumes about 20% of your body's energy, despite being only 2% of your mass. Evolution made us energy misers. We're designed to avoid effort, because for most of human history, wasting energy meant death. Transition to core thesis. So when you fail to act disciplined, you're not broken, you're biologically normal. But here's what separates those who build extraordinary lives from those who don't. They stop fighting their biology and start hacking it. They understand that motivation is an emotional state, unreliable, fleeting, and impossible to command on demand. Willpower is a finite resource, depletable, exhaustible, and weakest when you need it most. The question isn't, how do I get more willpower? The question is, how do I build a life where I don't need it? Part 2. The environment shapes you more than you shape it. Here's an experiment that changed how I think about human behavior. Researchers gave people bowls of stale popcorn and fresh popcorn. Then they put them in movie theaters. The people with fresh popcorn ate normally. The people with stale popcorn also ate normally. They ate stale popcorn just because it was in front of them. When asked why, they said things like, I guess I was hungry, or I wasn't paying attention. But here's the truth. The environment made the decision before they did. The power of friction. Your behavior is shaped more by your surroundings than by your intentions. This isn't philosophy, it's behavioral psychology. Every action requires a certain amount of friction. Friction is the effort required to start. And here's the brutal law of human nature. We take the path of least resistance every single time. Want to prove this to yourself? Right now, wherever you're listening, look at your immediate environment. The phone in your pocket or on your desk, the snacks in your kitchen, the TV remote, the bed you slept in this morning. Ask yourself, what does my environment make easy? Because whatever is easy, you do, not because you choose to, because your brain defaults to the lowest energy option. Application, the obviousness principle. James Clear calls this, make it obvious. If you want to drink more water, put a full glass on your nightstand before bed. If you want to read more, leave the book on your pillow. If you want to exercise, pack your bag the night before and put it by the door. But this is where most people fail. They set up their environment once, feel productive for a day, and then wonder why it doesn't stick. Because making something obvious isn't enough. You also have to make the competing behaviors invisible. The subtraction strategy. If you want to stop checking your phone, you don't need more willpower. You need to move the charger to another room. If you want to stop eating junk food, you don't need more discipline. You need to stop buying it. If you want to stop procrastinating, you don't need better time management. You need to close the browser tabs that distract you. This is called choice architecture, designing your environment so the right choice is also the easy choice. And it works because it bypasses the part of your brain that argues with itself. It removes the decision entirely. But the environment alone isn't enough. Because even in a perfectly designed environment, you still have to start. And starting is where most habits die. Which brings us to the most powerful psychological hack I've ever encountered. Part 3. Hijacking your existing behaviors. Every morning, you do things without thinking. Brush your teeth, make coffee, check your phone, use the bathroom. These are automated behavior sequences, neural pathways so well worn they require zero conscious effort. Now imagine if you could attach a new habit to one of these existing sequences. That's habit stacking. The formula is simple. After current habit, you will need a new habit. After I pour my morning coffee, I will write one sentence in my journal. After I brush my teeth at night, I will lay out my workout clothes for tomorrow. After I sit down to eat lunch, I will read one page of a book. Why does it work? Habit stacking leverages two psychological principles. Implementation intentions. Research shows that specifying exactly when and where you'll perform a behavior increases follow-through by 200 to 300%. Dopamine pairing. By linking a new behavior to an existing reward cycle, you borrow the neurological satisfaction of the old habit. The 2-minute rule. But there's a catch. You can't stack a mountain onto a pebble. Clear emphasizes what he calls the 2-minute rule. Any new habit must be reducible to less than 2 minutes. Read more becomes read one page. Exercise regularly becomes put on my workout clothes. Meditate daily becomes sit quietly for one breath. Why? Because the goal isn't to complete the habit, it's to become the type of person who does it. Each time you execute a stacked habit, you're not just performing an action, you're casting a vote for your identity. Read one page. Votes for I am a reader. Put on workout clothes votes for I am an athlete. One breath of meditation votes for I am someone who prioritizes mental clarity. These votes accumulate, and over time, they compound into transformation. Common mistakes. Most people fail at habit stacking because they stack habits that are too big, choose vague triggers. After dinner isn't specific enough after which part of dinner. Don't have a backup plan for when the trigger doesn't occur. The solution. Design for failure. If your trigger habit doesn't happen, you skip coffee one morning. Have a secondary trigger ready. Part 4. The 4 laws of behavior change. The framework. James Clear's 4 laws aren't just theory, they're a diagnostic tool for every failed habit you've ever had. Law 1. Make it obvious. Law 2. Make it attractive. Law 3. Make it easy. Law 4. Make it satisfying. Let me show you how to apply each one. Law 1. Most habits fail because they're invisible. You want to floss more? The floss is in the medicine cabinet, behind the aspirin, underneath the extra toothbrush. It might as well be in another dimension. Solution. Environmental design. Put the floss next to your toothbrush. Put the book on your pillow. Put the guitar on a stand in the living room. The Japanese have a concept called sunao, a kind of receptive, obedient mind that doesn't resist what's in front of it. When you design your environment well, you don't need to force yourself. You just need to be sunao to what's obvious. Law 2. Your brain runs in anticipation. Dopamine isn't released when you experience pleasure, it's released when you anticipate pleasure. This is why checking social media is so addictive. The anticipation of a notification, the possibility floods your brain with dopamine before you even open the app. To make a habit attractive, you need to create anticipation. Pair it with something you already enjoy. Listen to your favorite podcast only while exercising. Save your favorite coffee for when you sit down to write. Create temptation bundling. Law 3. This is the most violated law. People try to meditate for 20 minutes, write for an hour, exercise for 45 minutes all on day 1. The habit dies because it requires too much activation energy. The secret. Reduce friction to 0. Can't go to the gym? Do 1 push-up. Can't write a chapter? Write 1 sentence. Can't meditate? Take 3 conscious breaths. This isn't cheating. It's priming the pump. Once you start, momentum often carries you further. But if it doesn't, you still succeeded. You still cast your vote. Law 4. The brain is terrible at delayed gratification. If a behavior doesn't feel good immediately, your brain doesn't encode it as worth repeating. This is why studying is hard, the reward is months or years away. This is why exercise is hard, the reward is tomorrow's soreness. not today's pleasure. You have to create immediate rewards. Track your progress visibly. Put $1 in a jar every time you complete your habit. Tell someone you did it. Social validation is a powerful reward. Celebrate small wins. The inversion, breaking bad habits. To break a bad habit, invert the laws. Make it invisible. Remove the cue. Make it unattractive. Reframe your mindset. Make it difficult. Increase friction. Make it unsatisfying. Create immediate consequences. Part 5. Why motivation is a trap. The motivation myth. We've been conditioned to believe that motivation precedes action, that you need to feel ready before you start. This is backwards. Action precedes motivation. Always. You don't wait for motivation to exercise, you exercise. And motivation shows up halfway through. You don't wait for inspiration to write, you write. And inspiration finds you at the keyboard. There's a neurological principle called task attraction. Once you begin a task, your brain releases norepinephrine and dopamine that make continuing easier than stopping. This is why the hardest part of any habit is the first 120 seconds. If you can force yourself to start, just start. Even badly, you've already won 80% of the battle. The truth about disciplined people. Here's what nobody tells you about people who seem to have infinite discipline. They don't. They have bad days. They don't feel like it. They procrastinate and struggle just like you. The difference is, they have systems that work even when they don't. On their worst days, their environment still nudges them toward the right choice. Their stacked habits still trigger automatically. Their identity built through thousands of small votes still says, I'm the kind of person who does this. They don't rise to the level of their goals, they fall to the level of their systems. The identity shift. This brings us to the deepest level of change. Most people focus on outcomes. I want to lose weight. Slightly better people focus on processes. I want to exercise regularly. But the people who actually transform focus on identity. I want to become someone who values health. When your identity changes, behavior follows naturally. Ask yourself not, what do I want to achieve? But who do I want to become? Then start acting like that person even for 2 minutes a day. Part 6. From systems to self. Here's how lasting change actually happens. You design a small action, 2-minute habit. You execute it consistently. You prove to yourself that you're the kind of person who does this. Your identity shifts slightly. You're now willing to take on slightly larger actions. Repeat. This is the identity habit spiral, a positive feedback loop that compounds over time. The question that changes everything. I want to leave you with a question that's more powerful than any technique or strategy. What would the future version of me, the one who has already solved this problem, do differently today? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because here's the paradox. The future you isn't some magical being with infinite willpower. The future you are built entirely from the small decisions the present you make. Every time you choose the hard right over the easy wrong, you're not just building a habit, you're building yourself. Let's bring this all together. Your brain is wired to avoid effort. That's not a flaw, it's a design feature. Your environment shapes you more than you shape it. That's not weakness, it's psychology. Your habits can be hacked through stacking and the 4 laws. That's not manipulation, it's wisdom. Your identity is the ultimate driver. That's not philosophy, it's transformation. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more willpower. You don't need to discipline. You need better systems. You need intentional design. You need to stop fighting yourself and start designing for yourself. So here's your challenge for today. Identify one habit you want to build. Just one. Apply the 4 laws. Make it obvious. Put the cue in your environment. Make it attractive. Pair it with something you enjoy. Make it easy. Reduce it to 2 minutes or less. Make it satisfying. Create an immediate reward. Stack it onto an existing habit. Then do it. Not for a week, not for a month. Just today. Tomorrow. Do it again. And watch what happens when you stop trying to be disciplined and start building a life where discipline is inevitable. If this perspective shifted something for you, if you felt that click of recognition, that aha moment where things suddenly make sense, then you understand something profound. The goal was never to trick your brain into liking discipline. The goal was to build a life so well designed that liking it becomes irrelevant. Because when your systems are strong enough, your feelings don't matter. The right action happens anyway.